All right, well, welcome on to this Q&A. Again, I want to welcome on to this Q&A. There were a few questions I didn't get to that I do want to definitely do want to address that I didn't get to address last week, or sorry, this week. And the question was one question anyway, was like this. Somebody had asked what happens for a non-Jew, right, or a Jew in training, as we would say. Can they ask more than one rabbi questions? And even the questions, what does the Torah say about it? So I'll tell you, for a Jew, then we'll get to a non-Jew. But basically, for a Jew, the Gemara says very clear, that's not something that you can do. In other words, if you ask a rabbi a question, and you're asking them a specific question in Jewish law, right? Jewish philosophy, a different issue. But in Jewish law in general, you want to know, what do I do in this case? Whatever it may be. So basically, you're asking them that question. And I've spoken about this a lot in my last number of weeks in Pirkei Avos and Ethics for Our Fathers. And basically, once you ask a question, you can't ask someone else. Unless that rabbi gave a bogus answer, or whatever is just totally wrong, missed something, right? Missed something egregious, then you have to get another opinion, right? You're obligated to get another opinion. Why? Because they blew it. They made a mistake. If it's a difference of opinion among rabbinic authorities, right? There could be a lot of things that, maybe it's difference of opinion, Ashkenazic tradition, Sephardic tradition. It could be a difference of opinion within Ashkenazic tradition, right? Now, if one person, let's say one rabbi goes according to one opinion and not the other, it's valid, right? As long as it's a valid opinion, it's valid, right? But you can't say, well, I don't like that answer, I want to ask someone else. Well, that's too bad, right? Once you ask the question, and again, specifically about Jewish law, unless the rabbi made a serious mistake, you can't rabbi show. 100%, the Gemara says that's forbidden, and the Shulchan Aruch Code of Jewish law, that's how we paskin, that's exactly how we hold, that you cannot rabbi show. Now, there are people that, ask different rabbis different questions, right? They'll have the rabbi for kashrus. They'll have their rabbi for, blessings or Shabbos or, maybe Jewish philosophy, whatever it may be. Okay. Yeah. But once you ask the question, when it comes to Jewish law, right, you can't pick and choose. You can't say, I don't like that answer, I want to go somewhere else. So I had somebody used to, I don't take the question anymore. But basically, when I ask something, I give an answer and say, yeah, but this rabbi says like this. Or this rabbi says like that. I said, okay, so why are you asking me? Because 99% what's going to come out of my mouth is going to be what I heard from my Rabbi himself. And he is the Gadol Ador. He is the greatest rabbi generation. I don't think anyone disagrees. They may not agree with everything he says. Okay, right? But he's got very broad shoulders. I mean, he's a big person also, but he's got very broad shoulders. So I take the leniencies with the stringencies, and that's it. So you want to argue on him? You want to say the great rabbis that can argue on him? Okay. Right? I don't have an issue with that. But if you want to ask why I hold what I hold and this and that, that's probably 99% of the answer. Yeah, that's 99% of the answer. Now, you don't like that answer? Other rabbis hold differently? Okay. But then why'd you ask? Right? That's the obvious question. Why'd you ask? Right? So I would say that is in Jewish law. Right? That's in Jewish law. Now, what about Jewish philosophy? Right? What about Jewish philosophy? So now, let's say someone asks a question about the end of days, right? a former Christian's favorite topic. What's going to be in the end of days? Right? Is the Messiah of Yosef going to die? When the Messiah comes, does that start Olam Haba, resurrection of the dead? Right? When does everything happen? Very good. This is a major difference of opinion. Major difference of opinion among rabbinic scholars. Now, if you want to say, well, I think it's going to be like this, or I think the Messiah is going to come like that, it's called heresy, right? Others may disagree and say, well, I think it's going to be like this, or whatever. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So if nobody knows, anyone's opinion is just as valid, right? If it's within the scope of Torah. But there are fundamental principles in Jewish philosophy cannot go against, right? We'll give one of them. According to the Rambam, one of the 13 principles is reward and punishment. Now, anyone who's going to say there's no reward and punishment, or someone's going to say you don't get punished, God loves everyone, no one's going to get punished, that 100% is heresy. That's heresy, right? So, you got to be within the parameters within Jewish philosophy, right? I'll give other examples. Others just going through, I haven't fully gone through it, but working my way through. There's the whole question by Yom Kippur, right? We're getting closer to Rosh Hashanah. So the whole question by Yom Kippur, that let's say someone denies the fact that Yom Kippur atones. They're heretic, right? They deny the fact that Yom Kippur, let's say it's between you and God. Yeah, whatever you did, you sinned against God, forget about man and man, that Yom Kippur will come and atone. So let's say somebody says Yom Kippur won't atone. I don't believe Yom Kippur will atone. Now, when that person dies, do they get atonement on Yom Kippur even if they didn't repent? Even if they don't believe in Yom Kippur? Well, guess what? The Gemara brings two opinions. There are two opinions. One opinion says, if you don't believe in it, why should you get atonement? Right? That's what we would say. That's probably what anyone would say. You don't believe in it, you don't get atonement. Finished. Why should you get atonement? The other opinion says, no, Yom Kippur atones anyway. Right? For something. Not going to atone for everything. Certainly not. Right? But, for some things, it will atone. Right? So I'm pretty much in the middle of this now, but it's a pretty interesting, disagreement over here. Now, so you see, there is such an opinion. We have such an opinion. We may not hold by it. Right? And if the person doesn't repent, right? Let's say according to Jewish law, someone doesn't repent, why should they get atonement? Why should the holiness of the day atone? Right? Could be, it's a very valid opinion. Maybe we hold like that in Jewish law, right? Still, like I said, I'm working my way through, this whole thing. Right? If it's a valid opinion, it's a valid opinion. Right? But there are many things that are murky. Right? That in general, we're not sure. Right? Olam Haba, the next world, also a good question, right? How it works, what it is, what someone's standing there, right? Got to go through the book, Derech Hashem, the way of God, right? Take my course on it, right? Make a plug for it, right? These are things that not so simple. Not so simple by any stretch. Okay. So there could be multiple opinions. Now, multiple opinions in Jewish philosophy does not mean they're heretical. If they're within the spectrum of Judaism, i.e. Orthodox Judaism, okay. Yeah. But again, things are not clear. Jewish law, things are much clearer. Right? Much clearer. The thing's okay. Sometimes we have doubts and how we hold and different things. Very good. Right? But in general, it comes to Jewish philosophy in general, depending on the topic, could be a lot of different opinions. And they can all be valid. So Jewish philosophy is a different thing. So you can say, well, this opinion doesn't necessarily resonate with me. I like this opinion better. Right? So again, if it's not clear cuts, I can ask different rabbis, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about that? Right? And someone says like this, someone says like that. Or how do you view the state of Israel? Right? Big topic. Big topic. Some people, very big anti-Zionists say you should never live here, should never come visit, never build up the land. Other people say, yeah, you're allowed to come. It's a mitzvah to live here, right? Even the Messiah is not here, right? You're allowed to build up the land, right? Who's right? Right? Who's right? So it'd say, according to the way the Torah seems to set it out, it would seem to say that the opinion that, building up the land before the Messiah comes is valid. Right? That would seem to be, at least the way the Torah sets it up, that would seem to be the proper opinion. Right? Now, again, plenty of anti-Zionists out there say, look what the Zionists have done, and, many different things. Very good. Right? Different things they've done bad. Okay. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. That's not the point. Right? The point is it a valid place that you have a mitzvah to live there? Right? And you're allowed to build up the land even before the Messiah comes, or not? Right? So then you get diametrically opposed opinions. Who's right? Not clear cut. Very much not clear cut. So you have a lot of topics like this that are not very clear cut. Yeah, but there are many opinions. Right? And the opinions are valid. We're not saying the opinions are not valid. If they're within the scope of Torah, they're valid. Very good. Yeah, so that's a different issue. That 100%, is a different issue. Right? When it comes to Jewish law, and a person asking, what's the blessing, or what do I do in this case or that case, so it could be, again, there's a difference of opinion. The person didn't make a mistake, he goes according to one opinion, not the other opinion. That person cannot say, I don't like this opinion. I want the other opinion. I want to get a different, I want to go to a different source. I want to ask someone else. That the Gemara says in the Shulchan Aruch, to go to Jewish law, Paskins, and we hold you're not allowed to do that. Good. Now, the question, so that answers the question for Jews. Now, that wasn't the question, though. The question was, what about a Jew in training? Can a Jew in training do it? Can they ask multiple rabbis different questions? So really, it should be nothing wrong. Right? Even for a Jew in training. They're not Jewish. Right? Shouldn't be anything wrong. I would say, if somebody wants to, they're going to convert, etc. So they should have their source where they go for information. Right now, that source, whoever that rabbi is, they may not know everything. Right? Plenty of things, they may not know. Okay. So depending on the question and what they're capable of answering, good. Right? So they can answer. If they don't know, then they have to go somewhere else. Right? Whatever the question may be. That's not rabbi shopping. Right? So I would say for a Jew in training, I would say that, you shouldn't rabbi shop. You should get in the habit, you ask a question. Whoever you're going to ask, you have to stick with what they tell you. Now, if they make a huge mistake or other things, that's a different issue. That's what we said. Very, very different issue. If they make an egregious mistake. If they don't make an egregious mistake, who says you're allowed to rabbi shop? And I would tell you anyway. That's why I tell everybody in general, and that is rabbi shopping is a big problem. Not just because of what we said. It's a different issue. Right? What's the other issue? The other issue is that there's a lot of information. Right? There's a lot of information out there. Because there's a lot of information out there, if you're getting information from multiple sources, not everyone holds the same thing. They look at, different philosophical outlooks. That can be extremely confusing. Right? Extremely confusing. Right? I'll give one example. One example, I have nothing against Chabad. I think Chabad does a lot of good work. Right? A lot of times, someone goes to Chabad, and most people that go to Chabad are Jews, don't know really that much about Judaism. So what do they teach them? Tanya. Tanya is a very, very difficult book to go through. A lot of it's steeped in Hasidus, a lot of it's steeped in Kabbalah. It would not be the first book on Jewish philosophy that I would recommend to Jews or non-Jews. right? Just starting out. Now, people say, come on, you gave classes on Derech Hashem. That may be a harder book. All right, maybe in some ways. Maybe in some ways. That could be. Right? But that gives fundamental belief, in how God runs the world, how divine providence works, how the evil inclination works, what's the purpose of the nation, why do people suffer, spiritual forces. These are important things people have to know, right? In general, just to know how the world works, what my purpose in the world is. So again, another plug for my course here, right? But, it's not an easy book to go through. No question. So Chabad's very big in teaching the work of the Baal Tanya, right? First Lubavitcher Rabbi. Okay. Now, you can water it down, and water it down in a major way so people can understand it, right? The book Derech Hashem is all full of Kabbalah. I didn't go through the Kabbalistic aspects, right? Give people, basic understanding of what things are and how it works and, in our language. But when you're going through these type of things, that would not be. So Tanya is a good example. Yeah. That's one thing Chabad's very big in teaching. Okay. Very hard to teach a beginner unless you're very gifted. You got to be very gifted over here to teach a beginner that, how all this works. Okay, you're going to give it to them in sound bites. You got to very much water it down. Very, very hard book to go through. I would start out with Path of the Just. I would start out with The Ways of the Righteous, which I just pretty much finished. Going to put that out there also. So got a few things to do left on that. Person wants to learn Musar, right? You start with Gates of Repentance. Rabbeinu Yonah, to get the ways of the righteous, Gates of Repentance, Path of the Just, right? They've all been translated. Chobs of Avos, Duties of the Heart. Very, very big book in Jewish philosophy. Game changer also in many ways. I would go through these things. I mentioned Derech Hashem also. But these things I would go through first and understand them on a much better level before I would ever touch Tanya. I've never gone through it, right? Again, it's not because I have a bias against it, right? But there's Hasidus that you have to understand. A lot of Hasidus based in Kabbalah also, so you have to understand how it works, and then understand what he's saying, right? So that's a whole different thing. These other books I mentioned, the person go through themselves, right? Century go through themselves. Derech Hashem, different issue, but the ways of the righteous, faith of repentance, path of the just, duties of the heart. Those are 4 books right there. I would take well over Tanya, because people aren't ready for it. I don't think people are ready for it, because I always say that, people say, I want to learn Kabbalah and I'm very much into, Jewish mysticism and this and that. But again, can you run before you learn how to crawl and stand up? No. If you're taking higher mathematics, can you study calculus without understanding trigonometry or geometry? No. So if a person barely knows the Aleph base, barely knows anything about Judaism, why are you starting with that? You can say, the basics of Judaism explains different. Okay, but you got to be more grounded. You got to be much more grounded. They would say, no, you can teach it anyway. At any person's level, you can do that. Okay. But at the end of the day, it's hard to go through. Very hard to go through. So there are differences of opinion in Kabbalah. There are differences of opinion in Jewish philosophy. And just because there are differences of opinion does not necessarily make you a heretic. Depends what it is. But in most cases, if you're within certain parameters, then you don't have an issue, right? Because the parameters are pretty wide, right? The parameters are, are pretty wide. But I would say, and I've seen this from from experience, and that is when you're listening to a lot of different things you can't process. Very, very hard to process. You know what they say? Too many hands in the pot, you get burnt. Right? I've heard people say, "Yeah, I listen to this person and that person." Well, this person, really speaks strong and says this, and a lot of times I'm saying what what he's getting at, and this and that. So you gotta be careful. I'm thinking people are heretics here, right? That's not the issue. Everyone at their level who they can listen to. Yeah, they have to be within certain parameters, right? But if you're listening to too many people, what can happen? You get lost. This one says like this, someone says like that. They don't agree. In Jewish law, it's also confusing. A lot of different opinions. So a person would say, "How do I know what to do?" Right? A good example: Sfiras Omer. You count the Omer. When do you start? When you start the laws of what do you call it? Aveilus. Aveilus being mourning, right? For all the students of Rabbi Kipper that died. Some people start right after the holiday of Passover. Some people start the beginning of first of Iyar, right? And then they continue to Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer is the day people get married, get haircuts. Some people stop at that point and they start at the beginning. Other people, whenever they started, they have one day they can get haircuts and listen to music, and the rest of the days until Shavuos, they also have mourning customs, right? So, $1 million question. So, what do I do? Which custom do I choose? Very good, great question, right? So you can choose whatever custom you want. So, but each custom has their sources. No one custom is necessarily better than the other, right? I asked my Rabbi this question many years ago. He said, "Whatever you want, he said you can choose whatever one you want." I said, "Does it matter?" He said, "No." He said, "Totally doesn't matter." Now, if someone says, "Yeah, but still, I'm not really sure," so whoever your personal rabbi is, ask them. And they'll say, "Okay, you should do this, or you should do that," or if things are not clear cut. Yeah, that's what a person should do. But again, if a person could listen to very different people, get very different outlooks on things, so that's a good way, to see where you hold or where a person wants to hold in Jewish philosophy. On different things, they can hold like this rabbi and this, another rabbi like that, whatever. But again, if you're getting information from various sources, the point is it's very confusing. That is the point, right? 100%. That is the point, right? You got to be careful. You got to be careful where that information, where that information is going to come from. Yeah. So that's what I want to say on that. Somebody asked, some crazy Jews say Zionism is against Judaism. They have to wait for the Messiah to come. They're saying, forget about what the Zionists have done and this and that. They hold, according to one opinion, they hold you can never build up the land. That's forbidden. That is forbidden. You're not allowed to go there to visit, to build up the land, right? They're not allowed to. You're not allowed to build up the land in Israel. And not only that, they'll say there's no mitzvah to live here until the Messiah comes. Right? There is a difference of opinion, the Rambam and the Ramban, whether there's actually a mitzvah to live here. Right? According to one, there's a mitzvah if you can do it, if you're able to do it. According to the other opinion, no, it's no obligation. Right? According to the other opinion, no. So that according to that opinion, that you have to wait till the Messiah comes, right? Now they say Zionism is against Judaism. They are going to hold, according to those verses, the verses in Torah tell me, that you cannot build it up until the Messiah comes. Now, seemingly, there's less proof for that, but let's just say, okay, Yeah, so they're against. Very good. They want to say, well, they say it's against Judaism. Yeah, it's against those verses. Okay. Will the disagreement of how the state of Israel should be formed by the Torah Karta make them heretics? If so, how about they do tshuva? Yeah, how about they should do tshuva? Right? Not only, they believe we shouldn't be here, right? We like taking the land from the Arabs and, and all that. They're a bunch of lunatics also, right? 100% a bunch of lunatics. How in the world can they? Okay, it's one thing you want to be against the state. One thing you want to say, hold according to the government. It's not a government, based in Jewish law and all that. Okay, I don't have an issue with that, right? I don't have a problem with that. Very good. But once you start like kissing up to Arafat, and you go to Iran to see Ahmadinejad, and you march with pro-Hamas people, that's a problem. That is a serious problem. You want to be against the state? I got no issue with it. Right? Yeah, I don't think too many people, in the world alive today are going to be against the state as much as my Rabbi is. Yeah. But you're not in the Torah Karta by any stretch. Right? In his group, they don't take money from the government. They don't get any assistance from the government. So they raise their own money. Okay? But you're going to think, come on, they take buses, they do this, they get some benefit from the land. Okay, whatever. Whatever it may be. Whatever it may be. So you can be you can be very strong, against the state of Israel, which again, I have no issue with. But that's not the same as sucking up to Arafat and go see Ahmadinejad and, and being pro-Hamas, right? That's a very big difference. Very, very big difference. Right? Even though people claim, come on, even though we have the state now, no matter what they've done, there's so much Torah learning there, so much benefit here, different things. There is what to be said for it. 100%, there is what to be said for it. But I would say, even with everything, going on, it's by no means, a Jewish state, quote unquote, according to Jewish law. So that everyone would agree. We can say, but look at the benefit they get. They're supporting all these yeshivas and this and that. Okay. Yeah. Not doing it willingly. They're doing it because they have to, because there's a lot of pressure. Right? And now you got people in the government want to, do away with that. Okay. I would say it's better in a certain way. So at the, even though it'd be harder on all these other institutions, they have to raise their own money. They're not getting help by the government. Okay, but you know what? They say, Bala Mea, Bala Day. You got 100, you got an opinion. So a number of years ago, government wants to add their curriculum, so to speak, into ultra-Orthodox schools. The Rabbi protest against it, this and that. And I said, but they're taking money. He said they're taking money from the government. What do they expect? They're getting money. So he said, it doesn't matter. Even if they're getting money, they shouldn't be doing this. They don't have a right. They don't have a right to put their curriculum in our schools. But I said, they're paying out money, right? If they're paying out money, they got to say. He said, you're right, but we have to protest against it anyway. So, if they do tshuva, right? They have the Torah card to these people, if they ever repent, good. Yeah, but again, being an anti-Zionist doesn't mean, chummy, with Arafat and these maggots. Not at all. Right? Being pro-Hamas and this and that, because the Zionists did this, Zionists did that. So, whatever happened on October 7th, they deserved it, blah, blah, blah. Come on. That's lunacy. That is lunacy. So you're right. If they repent, great. If they don't repent, yeah, they're in trouble. Right? They are in trouble. Yeah. Somebody asked, 1 second. Someone says, 1 second. Third temple is extremely important, yeah, but it ain't gonna be rebuilt till the Messiah comes. Now, even if you got rid of the problem going on the Temple Mount, which is spoken about, which Jews can't go on, right? The vast majority of rabbinic authorities holds forbidden to go on the Temple Mount, right? We've spoken about that before. Practically speaking, you wouldn't be able to do it anyway, right? The army would stop you, the police would stop you. It'd be a whole major war here, right? In order to do it. Okay. Right? It is going to come, there's no question it's going to come. That's one of the things the Messiah has to do is build it, right? Even if it comes from heaven, going to what some of the prophets say. So the Messiah will finish it. Very good. Practically speaking, though, the only thing we have left is Temple Mount, right? We only have the Western Wall left. Okay. It is going to be a big thing, right? It's probably going to be a big thing soon, whenever that's going to happen, whenever God's going to allow it to happen. But, in the meantime, you got to do what you need to do and other things. Someone asked, do I think there's confusion concerning Zionism? I don't think there's a confusion. I just think people have very different opinions, right? There are two basic opinions, right? One opinion is you have people against the state, right? Now, if they're against the state and they believe you shouldn't live here, why are they here? That's a good question, right? And you have people that are pro the state. That some people would tell, maybe it's a third opinion. If some people say the fact that we have the state in our hands, we have Israel, we have Israel in our hands. What's the problem? What essentially would be the problem if that was the case? The question is, some people say that's the beginning of the redemption. That is the beginning of the redemption. Now, we could say that there's a medrash in Tehillim, in the book of Psalms, that says that when the Messiah comes, we're not going to be here. We are going to be in the desert. I.e., some people will say literally, we're going to be thrown out, right? We're not going to be in the land anymore. Messiah's going to come and drag us in and bring us in. Now, certain ways it's very hard to understand. Because we are here, we do have nuclear weapons, even though it very well could be that, the left never gets in power, they give away the land, and then we'd be thrown out. That could happen. That, in theory, could happen. But the fact that we're in the land, that doesn't guarantee we're going to stay in the land and the Messiah is going to come from that. Now, some people would say no. Some people say the fact we're here is a sign. It's an absolute sign that we got the state of Israel after the Holocaust. I'm not saying that's why you had to go through the Holocaust, but that was one of the things afterwards. Very good. But at the end of the day, does that mean there's a guarantee that the Jews are going to be here when the Messiah comes? No. Not necessarily a guarantee. If you pin me down and say, do you think it's going to happen? I would say no. But we don't know. Right? Nobody knows. Now, based on that, there are people who would say this is the beginning of the redemption. Now, there's no doubt, everybody agrees. There's absolutely no doubt that we're living in the Messianic era. Number of signs. There are a number of signs that show we're living in the Messianic era. Okay. Not a problem. Yeah. But to say the fact we have the lands and that we're going to stay in the lands and everything's going to go according to that plan, that's the beginning of redemption, right? Everyone agrees we're in the Messianic era. Okay. Having the land, you say, well, that's part of it. Maybe. We can entertain that possibility. But if we say that really, when the Messiah comes, again, I find this hard to believe, but it could happen, that the Jews are not going to be in the land, then we might still be in the Messianic era, but having the land is not conclusive. Not conclusive of that. Right? So the two main opinions are basically, we have a right to the land, should live in the land, build up the land before the Messiah comes. The other opinion is no. They're not allowed to. Now, the only issue with that is, if you believe that, then how can you have some of these constituents live there? In other words, if a certain group believes that's the case, how could some of their peers in the same group live in Israel? Valid question. In other words, if you don't believe in the state and it shouldn't be a state and build it up, you can't live there. Can't live there. Yeah. The religious Zionists, secular Zionists, political Zionists. Is that just to confuse the masses? No, I think it's to confuse the masses, right? That there were great rabbis when Herzl Schmerzel came up with this great idea to go to the land, and they were against it. They were against the secular state. Not to mention what they were going to do and try to uproot Torah and this and that, right? So you had religious Zionists. Who were the first, by the way, who were the first people that came to Israel in order to build up the land? They weren't secular Zionists. They're the students of the Gra, over Elijah Vilna more than 250 years ago. Yeah, almost 300 years ago. Yeah, they're the one. A lot of them died, draining swamps and died of malaria and other things. But they were the first Zionists came, not the secular Zionists. They were the first ones that came, which most people are not aware. So secular Zionists, political Zionists, are the same. No difference. Maybe secular Zionists less into politics, more into politics. Yeah. Not a question of confusing. I don't think that's the issue. I don't think it's the issue of, of confusing people. They made their, if you read Herzl's book, The Jewish State, which I wouldn't recommend, made it very clear what he wanted. Secular Zionists made it very clear what they wanted. They wanted a state of Jews. Not very much to do with religion. That's what they wanted. Rabbi's Rabbi Moshe Snyder, blessed memory, wanted to come to Israel. They didn't want him in. So they wanted to come. They didn't want old European Jews and their old European religion. They didn't want it. Their goal was to build up a secular state. That was their goal. Again, you have these other movements to confuse people. I don't think it was to confuse people. I think they made their goals very clear, extremely clear. Right? Some people thought, and they made a mistake. Some people thought that these religious Zionists who were religious, they were religious Jews. That they should have a say. They're important. And this and that. And other great rabbis of generation said this is going to be a curse for the Jewish people. This is going to be a disaster. In many ways, it has been. There's no question it's been a disaster in many ways. Now, you want to tell me, look how much Torah is being learned, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. Okay. That does not whitewash what they've done. What they did to, Yemenite Jews coming over, cut off their payers, made them non-religious. What they did to other groups. What they did, they could have ransomed off thousands and thousands of Jews in the Holocaust. They didn't. Got blood on their hands also. Right? And, in many ways. So, a person could say, but, you're able to live there. You have a standing army. Very good army, very good. Yeah. They give you the ability to learn Torah in peace, relatively speaking. True. Right? That is true. They're helping, they're helping part of the budget. They give a lot of money to yeshivas and different things. Good. That's true. That doesn't negate the fact other things they try and do also and what they've done in the past. But don't whitewash it. Right? These are benefits, okay? These are true benefits. But there's a war here between the secular and the religious. And the secular always say, when the religious are in power, right, with the right, they say too much money is given to yeshivas. Yeah, way too much money. So if you look at the budget, every time the budget gets passed, you got hundreds of billions of shekels, yeah? How much money you really think goes to yeshivas? Not even like 0.25%. It's okay. You say, wow, it's billion shekels. It's being spread out. Okay, that's a lot. Yeah. But if your budget is like 50 billion shekels or 100 billion shekels, let's say, then a drop in the bucket. Universities get 10 times more money. Other things get 10 times more money that aren't worth anything. Okay, right? And that's my opinion. Yeah, it's not as much as people think, but it's just the numbers. There's just not how many people sitting and learning, and even just in high schools or in grade schools or whatever, right? They think we're going to take over, we're going to steal the money, we're not doing anything for the state, blah blah blah. So again, isn't it true they're helping out? They want to cut a lot of it right now. Very true, right? But in general, aren't they helping out a lot? Yes, they've been helping out a lot. Okay. This is not the greatest place to slice cheese for what they're doing otherwise, in many other ways. It helps. I'm not saying not, right? If you would ask me, tell people, bite the bullet, go traveling, raise the money. Not easy to raise money. They just sent the whole delegation, to the States and to Europe, to raise quite a bit of money that they're missing from these government cuts. Yeah, it's a serious thing. Very, very serious thing. But I would say in the long run, yeah, you bite the bullet, but that's a better way to be. So you're not relying on the government, even if it's a small percentage. But, that's why the other Orthodox always look bad, in the government, because they're pressing for this, pressing for that, pressing for the other thing. But everybody does that. They're going to say, oh, but what's the difference? They can say, oh, but you don't work. All your people are learning, which is not true. Plenty of other Orthodox Jews work. That's not an issue, right? That's definitely not an issue. But at the same time, what's going on? And we're going to say you're not doing anything. So why should we give you this much money, even if it's a small percentage, right? Even if it's a drop in the bucket, so to speak. So I would say, give them no ammunition and say, you're right. Use it for this other garbage. We'll fend for ourselves. Now, why would some people not say that? Not a question to give them any merit. It's not an issue of merits. They can help you tremendously. They can help cover a good portion of your budget tremendously. True. So they'll say, if they can get their stuff, why can't we get some of our stuff? But it is ironic the way we're looked at, because we're looked at as parasites and other things, and everyone has their self-interest. Everybody, every group. So why should we be any different? Why should we have our self-interest? What's the answer? Because they hate Torah. That's the answer. They hate Torah. They want to have nothing to do with Torah. Okay? That's the difference. They don't value Torah. So even if it's 0.25% or even less of the budget, the fact that they don't respect it, that's why. Right? That is why. That's what I would say. On that, someone asked, doesn't mean the diaspora desert. Anywhere outside of Israel is like the desert. But you have places in diaspora that are built up. Torah places. Right? Right? So a desert could mean literally like you're going to be exiled to an island somewhere, wherever it may be, in the middle of nowhere. Or it just means you're going to be outside the land and Messiah's going to have to bring you in. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be in a real desert, right? Without Torah. Doesn't necessarily mean that. Right? It just means you're going to be outside the land, right? Really be outside the land. Yeah, let me see. Somebody asks, one second. Our chef in an article said celebrating this year's Simchat Torah should sing so much during dancing, and I thought that was weird. What do you think? Yeah, it's kind of bittersweet. I would say. I would say, during the summer break, a lot of people traveled. People were away for a number of days, this and that. I don't know. It wasn't, I had other issues, but it just felt weird. Felt weird, like, going to the beach, doing these things when, there are people still held hostage and there's still a war going on. Right? So, you got to remember, though, Simchat Torah is a time of great joy. It's definitely a time of great joy. So, there's a mitzvah to be joyful. No question. Should we mitigate it a little bit? Should we, dance a little bit less, not be so much in joy? I don't know. The holiday is what it is. I wouldn't. I don't know if I have an issue with that. I think that's a different thing. I would have more of an issue with people just like forgetting about everything going on and like, going on fancy vacations or, going places where you just sort of forget the whole thing. Right? So because stores, it's part of the holiday. Why shouldn't you have great joy? So someone might say, okay, so have a little bit less joy because of everything going on. But I'll be sad on a holiday, on a festival. Yeah, it's kind of hard. What happened last year, very hard. But now it's a year later, still, a lot of things going on. True. But you're not allowed to be sad. You got to work hard not to be sad. You got to be, etc. Somebody says that Torah Karta, founded by a great man of Avram Boy, right? So it's fallen far off the rails. Yeah. Also true. Also very true. Yeah, let me see other questions here. Sonia mentions, there's a good book about building up the land called Emo Banim Smecha. You're right. Right, about building up the land. True. Yeah, definitely true. So, it's pretty amazing when Mark Twain, Samuel Langhorne Clemens came in the 1800s. And he saw exactly what the prophets say, and he wasn't a religious person by any stretch. He saw the place is flattened like a pancake, and they build up the land, no question. This place has been flattened for 2,000 years. You bring the Jews there, okay, there's hyperinflation, other things going on, and, all these wars and different things, but like, the place is totally prospered, and that, Israel's at the top of high tech and so many different things, it's pretty unbelievable. I always say that, if you put Jews in every country, they're successful. Yeah, you put them in one country, it's a disaster. Or whatever, but, inflation's gone down, in many ways. It's not an easy place to live. It's not a cheap place to live, right? So, certainly not. But I would say at the same time, it's totally flourished. Absolutely miraculous, right? It's one of the few places in the world that you have communities built on hills, right? Just like took a chunk out of the hill and built it, right? Just built just built these communities. Someone asked, Torah front from back tomorrow, false life Yeshua Mashiach. No, he doesn't. Right? It's false Messiah. We don't believe him, but we're not going to go there. Someone here mentions have an obligation to be happy to learn Simchat Torah, right? Absolutely. It's again, I can understand why someone would say it's hard to sing and dance and this and that because, of still what's going on, but 100%, got a big mitzvah to to be happy on that day. Rabbis teach Zionism and Judaism are not the same. Listen, the end of the day, when the Messiah comes, where are the Jews going to be? Israel. They're going to be in Israel, right? Israel is the land of milk and honey, right? So therefore, whether there's a mitzvah to live here or not a mitzvah to live here, it doesn't really matter. All Jews at the end of the day, whoever survives is going to be here. It's going to have to come here, right? And that's clear exactly what the Torah says. It's clear. That's what we're going to be, right? So, so living in the land, is one thing, and when the Messiah comes, all Jews are going to have to be here, right? They're all going to have to come. So the question, the only question is, how do you view, quote unquote, what religious Zionism is today? That's the only question. Yeah. Do we believe, that we're supposed to come here and supposed to build up the land beforehand or not? But at the end of the day, everyone agrees we're going to be here, right? When the Messiah comes, we're going to be in the, all Jews are going to have to come back and be in the land. Yeah. Any other? Let me see other questions here. 1 second. Science has to be the resting place of Hashem's glory. So why does Zionism refer to if not the Temple Mount? It's talking about the temple itself. That's what, right? Going back, going back to Zion, right, is going back to Israel, right? Going back to Jerusalem, right? That's clear, right? That's where everyone's going to come. That's where the Jewish people are going to come, right? On the Temple Mount itself, well, that mosque is going to go, but on the Temple Mount itself is what? It's Holy of Holies, right? It's the most holiest place, right? So so going back to Zion is going back to Jerusalem. That's what it means, right? That's exactly what it means. Outside the land, the protection of Torah, someone here says, it's a different feeling, right? Not the same. Someone who is outside the land is like you have no God, right? Divine protection, totally different, right? Totally different. Torah does protect. Torah protects anywhere. That is true. But the difference is you're more, you're more subject to the nations outside of Israel. Here, okay, so you got all these, Arabs want to destroy the country and kill Jews and, and all that. And we are, still subservient to, America, whatever, in many ways. So based on that, you see it much clearer, here in the land of the fact that, Torah does say. Torah does protect. You need a standing army. Even time of King David, you need a standing army. Right? You need a standing army, there's no question, but it's not the power of the army. You only have the power of the army and the strength of the army with people learning Torah. If you don't have the protection of Torah, the army can't do anything. Right? And that's probably one of the reasons what would happen October 7th, that the mighty Israeli army looked very stupid. Yeah, they didn't do what they're supposed to do. Misread it, misjudged it, this, that, whatever you're going to say, whatever happened, wherever the lapses are. And a pretty big blow for, quote unquote, the greatest army, in the Middle East. Made them look really bad. Right? That there's no question. So again, it's divine decree. Obviously, it's what God wanted to happen, but as my Rabbi said at the very beginning, they had to get hit first. Right? The mighty army had to get knocked down. Guide, right? What's it called? Conceitedness, power. Say it's the might of my hands doing all this. Take God out of the picture. You can't take God out of the picture. Right? Anyone that's lived in the land knows that. Because everything's miraculous. A number of weeks ago that, preemptive strike, it knocked out Hezbollah's capability of sending 6,000 missiles. 6,000 missiles. Pretty miraculous. Yeah, 300 missiles, they all knocked out. It's pretty miraculous. 6,000? Who knows what could have done? Yeah. Even if they would have sent them, God could have protected us. True. Right? But yeah, it's very different. Looking how Jews are protected here and other places, very different. Very, very different. It was desolate before the Ammonites arrived. The whole place was desolate, right? That's what we said, right? Can I suggest a free playlist of Jewish instrumental music? Oh, only instrumental. I'll think about that one. Levites have good music. Not sure if they have instrumental. Yeah, but how many Levites do you know? You don't have a whole Levite channel, right? Just because they would serve in the temple and sing and this and that, but they don't. Yeah, I never heard of a Levite channel where they have music and this and that. So whatever. Instrumental music without lyrics. Yeah, that I'll have to look. I have to think about. Someone asked, Torah says, correct me if I'm wrong, Torah says if you don't follow the Torah, you should not live in the land. The Torah says that when you go into the land, you have to sanctify it. Right? You have to uphold what the Torah says. So if someone wants to come and pollute the land and do whatever they want to be gay and live in Tel Aviv, that's a big problem. Big problem if they lived outside the land, wherever they would live. Okay. Still be a big problem. But I would say if you want to come to the land and pollute it, then you're in God's palace, so to speak. You're playing with fire. Absolutely playing with fire. Right? And that's something shouldn't be done. Right? If you want to come live in the land, you're going to sanctify it. You got to keep what the Torah says. If you want to come and mess around and do whatever you want in the land, that's going to be a problem. Punishment will be much more severe. Yeah. Punishment will be severe if you live outside the land also. No question. It'd be worse if you live here. Right? So that's why, you got to be much more careful. So Rabbi want to get a blessing from Mordechai Pogromansky, a blessed memory, tells her genius after the war. And he told my Rabbi that, I'd love to go to Israel, but I'm too afraid. Every time you speak Lashon Hara there, God forbid, anytime you do anything wrong there, I'd be too afraid. So only until my Rabbi promised him that, he's gonna go there to learn and sanctify the land and, sanctify himself as much as he can, then he gave him a blessing. Right? But they understood the holiest of the land, if you mess around, can destroy you. It's destroy you outside the land, but you're playing with fire. You're coming to the land to pollute it. If you come to the land to pollute it, you're going to run into problems. Somebody here mentions, that's why so much confusion. Distractions trying to learn Torah outside the land. Well, you're surrounded by the nations. When you're surrounded by the nations, you're surrounded by their culture. You're surrounded by what they do, surrounded by what you see. Now in Israel, you can say, listen, if you lived in Tel Aviv, you lived in other places, you're also surrounded by secular Jews. Okay. But a lot of Orthodox Jews live in Orthodox communities. They're cut off from everywhere else. You don't have secular Jews in a lot of Orthodox, purely Orthodox areas. That's different. I live in a city, 100,000 people. They're all Orthodox. Ashkenazic, Sephardic, a lot of Hasidim here. You have secular Jews here. Secular Jews wouldn't want to live here. Big difference. Big difference. Yeah, outside the land, you have pockets of places. A place in New York, New Square, got their own entity. And places in Lakewood like that, in New Jersey. But most places, you're still surrounded by non-Jews. So it's harder. But it's not just you're surrounded by non-Jews. That's part of it, but you're surrounded by that culture, by that foreign culture. Even if you're around Jews and religious Jews, it's part of that culture. It's one thing that After being in Israel for so many years, living in the States, even in a very strong, very, very strong religious area. Even so, people were into sales and going to the outlets and doing other things, and people get caught up in what's going on outside. So yeah, it's harder to learn Torah that way. True. Right? But you got, outside of Israel, no question, you got to make yourself an island. That's what you have to do. You have to make yourself an island. You got to be as much as insulated as possible. I'm not saying you never go out, you never do things. You have to, right? You have to interact with people, whatever. Do different things. Okay. It's hard though, because you're still surrounded by that whole thing, right? As I would always say, you want to hear the pulse of what's going on in the world, go to Walmart, go to Home Depot. Yeah, you hear what people talk about. It's nauseating. Nauseating. They say, I have to go there, pick up a few things. What you see, what you hear could have a nasty effect on a person. I mentioned this before. I think I mentioned this on Tuesday. I was in I think second day I was in the States a couple of years ago. Whatever. Went to Walmart. Next thing I know, a whole bunch of police officers come in, escort someone out of the store. I'm like, great, it's good to be here. So glad I'm here. Yeah. See all kinds of things. See things, hear things. Society around you affects you. But you have to be part of it. Right? Israel's a little bit different. Right? Okay. You go into banks, you go into different places. So you have to deal with everyday people, quote unquote. Yeah. Even secular people. It's not the same though. Well, first of all, most people are Jewish, first of all. Second of all, you're going back to your religious community, wherever you live. That's a whole different thing. It's a much different thing. But I would agree, right? Outside of Israel, it's harder, right? Someone here mentions they're in Costco, they saw halal meats. Jews cannot eat halal meats. Jews cannot eat halal meats. Muslims could eat kosher meat if they want, right? But we can't eat their meat. We don't eat their meat, right? That's forbidden. Can kosher meat be ordered online? Yes. Right? I know people that have done that. You can for sure order online. That is true. Somebody mentions they have an album called The Levites. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't prove anything. But I've been part of the Orthodox community for the last 30 years. Right? So you're telling me something new. All right, I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm the biggest expert in music by any stretch, but you don't see such a thing. You don't normally see such a thing. Not saying that you won't have, you can't have it. There won't be such a thing as, Levites singing it on an album, whatever. But, it's not very common. I would say it's not very common. Yeah, let me see. What's the reason behind the Jew spits on a non-Jew who comes to visit the land of Israel? I don't know. Not going to answer for what people do. People said, yeah, I saw this video, I spit on a priest. Listen, you can disagree with Christianity, disagree with missionaries, this and that, spitting on them? Not going to justify it, right? Why should anyone do it? Say, what they've done, all the problems they've caused, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you're right. 100%. Look how many Jews they've taken away, blah, blah, blah. Right. They give you a right to spit on them? Yeah, doesn't give you a right to spit on them. Now, just because people have done it, doesn't mean it's right. Right? Also gives us a bad name. You see people protest and they start up with the police and they start burning things and whatever. Remember, people say, yeah, you want to protest? Very good. Who said you have the right to destroy property? Even if you hold, there's no Dina de Malchusa in Israel, there's no law of the land. Very good. Even if you want to say that, who said you can destroy property? Desecration of God's name. 100% desecration of God's name. Someone says, how are minority hashgacha hashkafic opinions on halachic opinions is viewed and used? Good question. Let's see. I don't know. It depends. Depends what the issue. Depends what the issue is. I'd have to think about that one. Doesn't mean you can't have them, right? 100%. It doesn't mean you can't have them. You can't have a minority opinion when it comes to, a philosophical thing. That doesn't make you a heretic, right? It for sure doesn't make you a heretic. Yeah. I mean, how many do you have that's a minority opinion? I know, look at the state of Israel's one. That you have other Orthodox Jews believe you shouldn't even be here. Right? Shouldn't build up the state. That's not a majority opinion. Right? That's one example. That is not, that's not a majority opinion. That's a minority opinion. I'm sure, there are others also. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a small minority opinion, but it's a minority opinion. Right? It's a minority opinion. Someone imagine that's why I need to pick a rabbi to follow, right? And a girl goes into an Orthodox community, not dressed so modestly, right? Someone throws acid in her face. Someone says, "Yeah, who says that's right?" Nobody says it's right, right? What the rabbi say? You think someone asked their rabbi if they could throw acid in the girl's face? I tend to doubt it. And if they did, the rabbi said it's okay, then he's an idiot. He's a total idiot. So, again, just because people do things does not mean it's the right thing to do. Right? 100%, it may be the wrong thing to do. Right? So, a person has to choose someone they're going to listen to that has integrity. As the Gemara says, that they have, you have to look at them like they're an angel. Now, it doesn't mean they're perfect by any stretch, but again, anyone who's going to tell you these things that would be permissible to do and, these crazy things, you can't listen to them. The crackpots. 100% the crackpots. Yeah, and there are crackpots out there, but again, I can't imagine anyone's telling anyone, yeah, this person dressed not modestly, they came in our community. It's a big mitzvah. It's a big mitzvah to throw acid in their face. You want to tell me someone's going to say that? I can't imagine. Can't imagine. And people start, someone told the story, became religious, a number of years later. Their only religious, quote unquote, experience was that they were in a certain Orthodox community. And they had they weren't dressed appropriately. This woman, and she got I don't know, kinds of garbage thrown at them or dumped on them. That was their only contact with Orthodox Jews. It's pretty bad. Right? Definitely pretty bad. So they're going to say, okay, you come in our neighborhood, there are signs up, you should dress appropriately. Good. And if you didn't, that's what you should do. Should I throw garbage at them? Spit at them? Certainly not going to draw them closer to God, right? No question. Yeah. Any other questions? Someone says, I'm going to part of a member of a synagogue or selling her neighbor hung a rosary beside her property. Yeah. If you could have got away, with stealing it and then destroying it or whatever, then yeah, it'd be a big mitzvah to do. The problem is you got the law of the land. If you get caught, it'd be desecration of God's name. So, the Rambam learned from laws of idolatry, by the way, I think I mentioned this also on Tuesday, that there's a mitzvah, it's a big mitzvah, even outside of Israel, to destroy idolatry. Big, big mitzvah to do it. But, if you did it, you got a lot of these churches, burn them down. Great, right? Be a big mitzvah to do. The problem is you get caught doing it. The law of the land is a big problem. They can't do it, right? Really, essentially, you can't do it. But he says that's really what you should do. Would we call the Gadol Ador a sage? Yes. right? Gadol Ador is like we call like the greatest rabbis of the generation, right? So you got a lot of sages today, well up there in years. So usually when they say the Gadol Ador, they either mean the greatest rabbi of the generation, right, or great rabbis of the generation. Can people in Gehenna pray for help? Oh, interesting question. I think at that point it's too late. I think once you're there, unless you have other merits that get you out at some point, you're there to pay the price, right? So I think at that point it's too late. They have to remember Gehenna's a cleansing process. Not just, you're going to suffer for no reason. It's like cleansing all the garbage from your soul. So at that point, the praise is too late. Right? Seemingly, it's too late. You're getting whatever punishment you deserve. It's going to be for X amount of time until the punishment stops. So praying's not going to help. Could be. It could be and other merits to get you out, maybe earlier, maybe that way. But I don't think prayer is going to help. Prayer shouldn't help. You're there to get fixed up, and that's it. Right? Prayer shouldn't help. It's not going to be mercy by that point. You get the punishment, whatever you get to cleanse your soul. That's it. Right? Prayer's not going to help you. You had an opportunity before you got judged to plead your case. Right? Everyone at some point probably, if they're truly righteous, is going to, is going to go to Gehenna, is going to go to hell and get purified. Okay. They're going to get fixed up. Tremendous. They're going to get fixed up. Okay. Yeah, but if they go to Gehenna, then not going to help them. Prayer is not going to help them. They have to get fixed up. So that's what I would say. Someone here says, I shouldn't say this. Tired of people that blatantly do what they're not supposed to do, and they claim to be Orthodox. Yeah, so I would tell you, don't, first of all, don't get caught up in what people do and how they dress. Because I would say, we're our own worst enemy, and you don't mix up Jews and Judaism. So you're going to say, we're supposed to be Orthodox, right? Aren't there Orthodox Jews do bad things? Yeah. I thought my Rabbi, probably the top rabbinical court in the world. And there's people that came in, were all ultra-Orthodox Jews, right? Big hats, long coats, this, that. Really, they stole, they did this, they did that, they did the other thing. Yeah. You see, people have an evil inclination, but that's why my Rabbi said it's a good thing I have a connection to him. Otherwise, you lose faith. Very easy to lose faith. Right? But again, just because people do things and they call themselves Orthodox does not mean they're Orthodox. Now, you could say people aren't perfect, people make mistakes, right? That's true. People make mistakes, okay. So what? And if a person makes mistakes, they can't be Orthodox. You're going to say, but they claim, but look what they did. Okay. People are not perfect. Now, say it depends on what they do. We're all work in progress. Does that mean someone should commit fraud? No. How can someone do it? Because they want to save money. They don't want to pay taxes. How can someone do this, that, and the other thing? I don't answer those questions. They could be Orthodox. You could have there's a phenomenon of people. I don't say it's a majority, but it's a phenomenon, of people that smoke pot, that are Orthodox. I don't know what the percentage is, whatever, but I've heard such a thing. Not such an uncommon thing. So I ask you, forget about being legal or not. You're an Orthodox Jew. I can do that. No, I'm just kicking back, sipping pina coladas. Some people know it's bad for you. Yeah. Kill brain cells. Yeah. Okay, a little bit here, a little bit there. You just want to chill. On the Rambam say, got to guard your life, got to guard your soul. Isn't it bad for you? Sure. People say alcohol is worse, other things are worse. Okay. Now, if you were to ask me personally, I can give you a different reason why people may do it. But see, I grew up in that culture. I grew up in the secular world. It's what made me came to Judaism in the first place, in many ways. I mean, I grew up as a Jew. But how could very intelligent people do drugs and this and that? Right? That was my question. But, when I was in high school, this and that, and people were disgusted. I don't care how smart they were. I got to college, it was more of it. And people were even smarter there. Top 1% of all college students, big deal. Yeah. But top 1%, let's say. I with these people like they were sick. People got smashed and whatever. I never drank until I got to college. I thought it was like, such a disgusting thing, in many ways. So now, you can have people that, go to synagogue, they get smashed at a kiddush. They drink too much. Isn't that a problem? Sure, it's a problem. It's not a small problem, by the way, in the Jewish community. You got people that just, then they sleep all Shabbos. They get plastered on Shabbos. Okay, you want to have a little bit of drink, this and that, good. Said you want to get smashed. A lot of people do it. Shouldn't say a lot, whatever. There are people that do it. You got people that, kids, 18, 19, 20, a little bit older, big connoisseurs in whiskey and scotch and this and that. Why? Why? We're saying they're alcoholics. Why? They say because they enjoy it. What have other things to enjoy? Yeah, I'm not saying they're getting out of hand. They get out of hand, it's a problem. Yeah, they just want to chill. They want to relax. Different things. So someone will tell me alcohol is much worse than weed. Okay. Other people get carried away. Yes. They got people that serious B'nai Torah, right? Serious learners, this and that. And they like to drink. Right? Like I say, it's totally forbidden. Depends what they're doing. If they're getting smashed week in and week out, they just need to chill. There's a problem with that. It's an alcoholic problem. That's what it is. But you want to impress me and say, well, this scotch is blended and it's this and it's that, and it's 100 years old, it's 50 years old, it's this. You got people that know their stuff in this stuff. That's unimpressive. I don't find it impressive. I'm like, why do you know that? Why you focus on that? People think, it's just a side thing. Enjoy it. Problem. Definitely think it's a problem. So don't mix up Jews and Jews. Just because people do things doesn't mean it's right. But you're going to have that. You're going to see things you don't like. Okay? Right? No one says you have an obligation to convert, but we're our own worst enemy. Yeah? People do things better. People do things worse. Okay? Take it for what it is. I'm not justifying it. Right? My Rabbi would say, if you move into a Jewish community, see how Jews act, you still want to convert, so you're a little bit wacko. So you could say, okay, I understand this Jews and Judaism, but they're supposed to uphold what the Torah says. So if you're, so a person lives in a small community, they go to Chabad, who are the most people that go to Chabad? Secular Jews. They're not Orthodox Jews. They associate with Chabad, very good. Some of them may become Orthodox Jews. But these people, a lot of them are not. But if you tell me they're Orthodox Jews, they do the wrong thing, so go ask them. Why are you doing this? This is forbidden. Why call yourself Orthodox? Go let them answer for themselves. I'm not going to answer for them. But you have to understand. There are different stripes over here. Some people do things better, some people worse. It's an issue. I'm not going to say not. It's an issue. Yeah, somebody else going to wind down here. What? Does Talmud say non-Jews are animals or not? Yes, it does. But why? Because they don't have Torah. They don't have anything guiding them. They go according to the evil inclination. Any Jew goes according to their evil inclination. They don't have a spiritual guide, right? They don't have a spiritual guide, right? Helping them, guiding them. So is the Jew any different? Is the Jew any different? So what does a non-Jew have? Non-Jew doesn't have that guide. So what's guiding them? What's guiding their morality? Nothing. Whatever their heart tells them. So let me ask you, any person, Jew or non-Jew, we're not going to discriminate here. Any Jew or non-Jew follows their heart, whatever their heart tells them. They have no moral compass. Are they human or are they acting like an animal? Or are they like an animal? Now you say, oh, what about non-Jews? Non-Jews don't have that moral compass. They don't have that moral compass, and they do whatever they do. Are they any different than an animal? They're no different. I can say the same thing about a Jew. The only difference between a Jew is that their souls are Mount Sinai when God gave the Torah. Okay, so they have obligations. Good. They don't hold according to their obligations. Are they any different than a non-Jew? They're not. In that case, it wouldn't be. The only difference is they have that spark of a Jew. Okay. So there are other ramifications. Somebody asks, why did Jews steal the history of the Hebrews? Not going there. Good try. We didn't steal anything. Yeah. We are the real Jews. Unless proven otherwise. Adam, which is the term used for again, Adam is something else. Why are they not called Adam? That's a different issue. Person asks why they called animals. That's a different issue. That's a different issue. Right? All humans have a spark of God. True. What if you don't use it? What if you don't use it? If you don't use that spark of God, what do? You pour garbage into your soul. If you pour garbage into your soul, what do? What do? Are you any different than an animal? No. You act like an animal, you don't like an animal. You have nothing guiding you. Nothing spiritual guiding you. So no difference. There'd be no difference. You got to tell me you got the human spark. Very good. What are you using it for? What in the world are you using it for? All right, 1 second. Alcohol can be addicting, right? Listen, there's more of a chance, I would say. You have kiddush, you have a little drink between meat and fish. Let's say very good. And there's more of a chance the person get addicted, yeah. But in general, up until maybe 20, 30 years ago, right, I would say Jews, even Orthodox Jews, not even close that, to the levels of being alcoholics and this and that. Today, you can't say that. Today, by Orthodox Jews, right, there's a percentage that go according to regular statistics of everybody else. And by Orthodox Jews, right? But if you're holding the way you should, that should never be an issue. We do have the ability because, we drink more and this and that because of festivals and this and that. But, the vast majority don't drink. I drink very little. Again, today more people drink. But I'm saying in general, if you're more in tune to what you're doing, that wouldn't be an issue. Would not be an issue. Yeah, any other questions here? 1 second. What happened to the million of souls that weren't Jewish? No, I don't know what happened to them. Right? So, Abraham, what happened to all the souls he made in Haran? Commentaries say he left, and they all disappeared. We don't know what happened to them. They disappeared, basically. But how many Noahides are there? No, Noahide movement is only like 30, 40 years old, a little bit more, right? But, it hasn't been solidified for hundreds of years. That's why there's no code of Jewish law in it. So maybe had a handful, the last 500 years, a handful. Now you got, much bigger groups today, right? But again, it never solidified. Never solidified back in the day, way back. So anyone who went against idolatry, they stayed Noahides. They died as non-Jews, right? As Noahides, but, there weren't a lot of them. There for sure weren't a lot of them. All right, one second. My neighbors, they have a big statue of Odazar of idolatry. Yeah. Listen, you live in a place, you see all kinds of things, you say, thank God I'm not a non-Jew, right? When you're able to make that blessing after conversion. Yeah, it's a big thing. It's a huge thing. Right? Because you see, like, God showed you the light. You're not going in that path. Right? You're not going in that path. Right? If you're not Jewish yet, it doesn't matter. What else? That they've been beaten down, the Torah beat them down. When does the Torah beat them down? Right? I would say, people go through, you're right, people go through hardship. People go through hardship, they want to veg, they want to this and that. But again, if you're in tune with what Torah says, you have the proper outlook. With all things being equal, these things shouldn't happen. Statistically, we shouldn't even be close to what the national statistics are when it comes to drug and alcohol abuse. In our community, shouldn't even exist. Okay, maybe have some here, some there, but like to be like the national average, among certain peer groups, yeah, that's a problem. That is a serious problem, right? But again, the more you're in tune, with what you should be doing, the less this will happen. How do people get into drugs and this and that? A lot of people get because they're abused. Kids are abused. 99% of kids that are that die of drug overdose, right? Orthodox kids that's the reason. It's usually abuse. There could be other issues. It could be family issues. It could be mental health issues. It could be a lot of different things, right? A lot of different things that cause the person to go astray, right? But the vast majority, again, this is an expert who I heard from say this, that the vast majority of Orthodox kids, that have gone off and done drugs and alcohol and whatever, and have actually died of overdoses because they were abused. They were sexually abused, right? The vast majority. Now, again, there could be other issues as well, but this person, in the field, that's what they said. So, you're right. This is a much bigger topic. I'm not going to go there, but the problem is you live in a bigger world. And when you live in the bigger world, you gotta have balance, right? You have to have some level of balance. It's hard to find the balance, right? That is true. A person's not a machine. Can't just learn all day, right? Person's got to make a living. They got to work, and they're surrounded by different people, all walks of life. Whatever, they're exposed to all kinds of things. It can beat down a person, right? Just being surrounded by it. Right, but yeah, you gotta try and find a balance, and again, I would say it's much better, much better, as being part of that other world, much better to be more insular than not. On TV, movies, news, other things, just Torah's the way to go. Just focus on that. Everything else, major distraction, right? And you get caught up in it. People speak about it. People ask you maybe about it. Whatever. It's you get caught up in the whole thing. So it's very hard to find a balance. Someone said I've been isolating myself as long as I can. That's not good. That is not good. Right? You can't isolate yourself. You got to be part of the community. have to be part of the community, right? So you should be part of the community, right? How isolating yourself is not going to help. Right? It'll make it more difficult because you want to see how things are done, right? If you want to be an Orthodox Jew, you have to see. You can't just live in a cave, right? You can't isolate yourself. So there's no codified words concerning Noah. It's very few, right? You don't have in the code of Jewish law. You don't have specific chunks about Noahide laws. There's things in here. You have laws of idolatry, that's brought down, but you don't have specific laws for Noahide. Someone came out with like a code of Jewish law for Noahide. I don't know how good it is. I haven't seen it. I did, went through a whole course, going through, the Noahide laws, but they're very sporadic. They're not all in one place, right? You gotta kind of like hunt around for them, right? And then see, okay, does it apply to non-Jews? Doesn't apply to non-Jews? It's complex, but you don't have a lot of commentaries on it. Very few, right? The greatest commentary we have, at least among the early commentators, is the Rambam. He's the one who deals with a lot of these questions, but you don't see other people really deal with these questions too much. Certainly not as in depth as the Rambam. Someone asked, why is Hashem trap some people do repetitive tax? I don't know. Right? What good does it do for the soul? They make money. That's what they're qualified to do. People get stuck working endless jobs. Jobs that go nowhere. Why? Again, the Chol says in the gate of Bitachon, right? In Amunah, in faith and belief in God, that God either gives you brawn or brains. If He didn't give you brains, it will give you strength to make money. So people get all kinds of jobs, different things. They can be meaningless jobs. Okay. You know what? But meaningless jobs put food on the table. Maybe not a lot. Right? Maybe it's not meaningful. Oh, okay. Not everyone has meaningful jobs. Yeah, but some people do. Right? But at the end of the day, it could be monotonous. Could be, you're just following the blueprint and doing this and doing that and doing the other thing. That's what they're qualified to do. Why they qualified to do that, nothing else? Why they have no other ambitions? I don't know. Go ask them. It's not a question for me. Right? Doesn't matter if they go nowhere. Right? They're making money. So, what are all these people stuck in, kind of like enslaved in sweatshops? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. That's what God wants from them. Right? That's what He wants from them. Yeah, but they're not making any money. They're being exposed, this and that. Okay. So you want to tell me what their soul's doing here? What their purpose of their life is? What they might have previously done to deserve it? So good. You can tell me. Right? But it doesn't matter if it's meaningless or not. Maybe they're stuck in that position. Maybe they got sold in that position. Maybe, I don't know, come up with 100 different ideas, potentially. Why that may be. Okay. Yeah. Gives them a way to make money, even if it's not a lot. You got people here, Filipinos, right? You got Filipinos that, what do? They care of older people or sick people. Yeah, we're the families of the Philippines. But they get paid a lot more here than there. So you think, come on, they're much nicer, they're much friendlier, they're good at that, very good. Far away from the family. They go back once every couple of years, maybe, but they send money back to the family. So what kind of life is that? Or people hire themselves out, work in other countries, this and that. So you could ask the same question. Why would they do it? Money. They make a lot more money, doing it. Now, is that a meaningful job? Taking care of a sick person, it doesn't sound like so much fun, for what they have to do. But they're making it up, they're making money sending it home. Is that a kind of life to be away 3 years at a time or whatever? So the answer is justify the means, because sending money home. They found a place to do it, they got hired, and that, and they're doing it. Why other people do this and do that? Well, people like that meaning in the life. Chol says you should do a job that you're good at, that uses your talents. Now, it doesn't always work out that we can do that. But you should, otherwise you'd be miserable. So use your talents. Yeah, it's a dead end thing. Maybe it gets you nowhere, maybe it doesn't make so much money. Okay. Yeah, but people do what they need to do. Sometimes a friend of mine was just starting out when he came back from Israel. He was learning something, on the side, and he drove a truck. Pretty meaningless, delivering things from, I don't know. Well, I don't think it was long. I don't think it was so long distance, but whatever. Got a truck license, started driving a truck. Delivering things. That's pretty meaningless, isn't it? I can listen to a lot of classes, this, that. Is that pretty meaningless? Sounds pretty meaningless. Why do you do it? Because he need to do something, put bread on the table. So he did that while I was learning something on the side. Okay. So you say that's different. That's not the same as just, you're doing it, full time for years and years. Okay. I will say, in general, doing something that might be meaningless but brings in a paycheck every week or every couple of weeks, even if it doesn't make a lot, is worth something. Even if it's meaningless work. Why? Because you know that money's coming in. But it might be dead end, so you want to do other things. Okay. But why would a person do it? Because you got money coming in. Right? Even if it's not a lot of money. Sometimes you got to do what you have to do. What if someone does it for years and years? Okay. That's what they choose. Now, what if it's chosen not, against their will? Okay. When ask me why, it's whatever the person has to go through. Why do people have cycles? They make money, they lose money. Yeah. They're always trying to play catch up. They never make enough or whatever. Because God wants them to suffer. He wants to make their life hard. He wants them to pray better. What if your field doesn't make a lot of money anyway? And you're always tight for money. Okay. But you chose it. That's what a person chose. Right? Thing to say, but you should have chosen something else. That's what they chose. Yeah, but they get meaning out of it. If they didn't choose it and they don't get meaning, I don't know. Why did God put them in that position? Could be for a lot of reasons. Potentially. Right? Could be potentially a lot of reasons. How do Noahides know that they have a portion of the world to come? Because it's brought down. It's brought down. Different sources. So as long as they repent for anything they might have done wrong as a non-Jew, they'll have a portion of the world to come. Won't be the same as a Jew because they have less mitzvahs, but they'll have a portion of the world to come if they do what they're supposed to do and they repent for things they've done wrong. What does the prayer say? Why does the man say, "Thank God I'm not a woman"? What's the reason? What is the reason in the prayer before that says, "Thank God I'm not a slave"? Slaves and women have similar mitzvahs, right? Women are not bound by mitzvahs, bound by time. They have less mitzvahs. So a guy says, "Thank God I'm not a woman because I have more mitzvahs." Not because of anything else. It's talking about mitzvahs. So since a slave doesn't have a lot of mitzvahs, I say, "Thank God I'm not a slave. I got more mitzvahs." A woman's not going to say, "Thank God I'm not a woman," right? Just saying, "Thank God I'm created in God's image." Right? I have my own things I need to do. Very good. But a man's going to say that not because of anything else, but because it has to do with mitzvahs. The amount of mitzvahs that we do. No, it's only been a thing in the last 30 years. It's come to the fruition in the last 30 years. I'm not saying there weren't Noahides throughout history. Right? There were. It's just a very small amount. There's never been so many people want to be Noahides today. That's another reason why we know that we're in the Messianic era. Because the non-Jew is going to come and say, "I want to learn Torah. I want to learn what I need to do." Right? It's also another proof that we're in the Messianic era. Right? How to get its name? Because God passed the Noahide laws down to Adam, and He passed it down to Noah. Right? It was spread after Noah, so that's how I got the Noahide laws. Then it was codified at Mount Sinai. Yeah. Any other questions here? Okay. All right, let me see a few other questions here. there any additions to regular daily prayers for Ashkenazim during the month of Elul? Just Psalm 27. Psalm 27, you say in the morning, you say at night, and then we're going to say Slichos another couple of weeks. Right? We're going to say these penitential prayers right before Rosh Hashanah, week before Rosh Hashanah. So that's the only difference. Sephardim was saying Slichos all month. Maybe the only meaningful job is family. We're not talking about that. We're talking about making money, right? And a woman should be home with the family, so, but you can't live on one income, right? So if a person's married, a woman should also have to work, right? Normally we would say that because you can't live on one income, right? In general. Yeah. Or the major difference between living in Israel and the exile, like a Truman Meiser, right? That's probably taken care of by a kashrus organization. You got mitzvahs dependent on the land, and you got to be a lot more careful what you do here. You're living in exile. I mean, living in exile, okay. If you're saying you do things wrong, it's bad. If you say it and do things wrong in Israel, it's 10 times worse, right? The major difference is you live in a Jewish community, a lot different than living in a community in outside of Israel. Right? Even in the strongest communities, doesn't compare. Doesn't compare to living in Israel. You'll see. Right? Standard is much higher. Much, much higher. There's less distraction also. In many ways. Also, you want to live in a community that's very black and white. You want to be a religious Zionist? Yeah, some religious Zionist communities. Otherwise, it's black and white. That's the majority. People dress black and white. Yeah. All right, I'm going to stop there. I do this every Tuesday, Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Israel Time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com. Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There, I got videos on Q&As, ethics for our fathers, Book of Leviticus. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBIChaimCoffman@gmail.com. Wish everyone good